My wife was still texting me, after I found her under the shed. The worst part was not finding my wife under the shed. I know how that sounds. The worst part was that for almost 2 weeks before that, I thought I was still talking to her. Not over the phone, she would not answer calls, but through texts. Short ones, cold ones, the kind you get from someone who is angry and does not want to explain herself. I need space. Don't call me right now. Feed Cooper before you go to bed. Trash pickup is Thursday. Normal enough things only she would say. At least that was what I kept telling myself. My wife's name was Emily. We had been married for 6 years and living in a small house outside Columbus, Ohio for 3 of them. It was not a dream house, but it was ours. 2 bedrooms, 1 finished basement, a narrow driveway, and a fenced backyard with an old wooden shed near the back corner. The shed had been there before we bought the place. It leaned slightly to the left, like it was tired. I used it for lawn tools, salt bags, old paint cans, and boxes we never fully unpacked. Emily hated it. She said it made the yard feel smaller. She also said it smelled wrong inside, like wet wood and old towels. I always thought she was being dramatic. We had a Ring camera over the front door, a cheaper camera pointed at the backyard gate, and a smart lock on the back door. Emily liked that stuff more than I did. She set up the shared grocery app, the smart thermostat, the door lock codes, all of it. I work from home 3 days a week doing billing for a medical supplier. Emily worked at a dental office about 20 minutes away. Our routine was boring in the way most adult routines are boring. Coffee, work, dog, dinner, laundry. TV until one of us fell asleep on the couch. That winter, things had been tense, money was tight. The furnace had needed repair in January. My truck needed new brakes. Emily had started picking up extra hours, and I was taking on weekend invoices. We were both tired all the time, which made every small problem feel bigger. The argument happened on a Monday night. It was February 12th. I remember because the next morning, I had a reminder on my phone to order Valentine's flowers, and I deleted it without thinking. We were in the kitchen around 10:45 p.m. Cooper, our dog, was lying by the back door. Emily had just come home from work, still in her navy scrubs under her green winter coat. She was upset because I had paid the garage before paying the electric bill. I said something stupid about her, not understanding how the money came in. She said something about me, acting like I was the only adult in the house. It was not the worst fight we had ever had. It was just one of those fights where both people are too tired to stop themselves. At 11:18 p.m., she said, "I'm going to Megan's for a few days." Megan was her older sister. She lived about 40 minutes away in Dublin. I asked if she was serious. Emily said, "I can't be in this house tonight." She grabbed her purse from the counter and took her phone. She did not take her work bag. She did not take her makeup bag from the bathroom. I noticed that, but I told myself she was angry and would come back for things later. She put on her green coat and left through the back door. I heard the smart lock chime after she closed it. I did not follow her. I did not want to make it worse. That was the last time I saw her alive. The next morning, at 7:22 a.m., she texted me, "I'm fine, don't call." That was exactly the sort of thing Emily would send if she was still angry. So I did not call. I replied, "Okay. Let me know if you need anything." She did not answer until that night. Feed Cooper before bed. That bothered me a little. Not because it was strange for her to care about Cooper. She loved that dog more than she loved most people. But the wording felt stiff. Emily usually texted like she talked. No periods. Random lowercase. Too many exclamation points when she was excited. This message had a period. Feed Cooper before bed. I stared at it for a few seconds, then decided I was being ridiculous. People text differently when they are mad. For the next few days, that was how it went. I would send something normal. "Are you going to work today?" No answer. A few hours later, she would send something unrelated. "Trash pickup is Thursday. Don't forget the dentist bill. Cooper's food is in the garage." Every message was practical. No emotion, no jokes, no "I'm still mad," or "we need to talk." Just little instructions from the life we were supposedly taking a break from. On Thursday night, I called Megan. She answered on the third ring, sounding distracted. I said, "Hey, is Emily there?" There was a pause, not a long pause, maybe 1 second. But I remember it. Megan said, "She's asleep right now." I said, "Can you just tell her I called?" Yeah, she said. I'll tell her. That should have settled it. But something in her voice stayed with me. On Friday afternoon, I was working at the kitchen table when my phone buzzed with a notification from our grocery app. Emily added oat milk, then paper towels, then the specific salmon-flavored dog food Cooper ate. It was such a small thing, but it made me feel better. Emily always bought that oat milk. I hated it. She said mine tasted like cereal water. I opened the app, expecting the pickup location to be near Megan's place. It was the Walmart 5 minutes from our house. I stared at the screen for a while, then I texted Emily. Are you nearby? The typing bubble appeared almost immediately. Then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, she sent, No, just that, I asked. Why is the grocery pickup set to our Walmart? No answer. I checked the order again. It had not been placed yet. Just items added to the list. I told myself maybe the app defaulted to our usual store. That was possible. Everything still had a normal explanation if I wanted badly enough to find one. That night, I took Cooper out around 11:30. The backyard was quiet. Snow from earlier in the week had hardened into gray crust along the fence line. The shed sat at the back, dark and crooked. Cooper would not go near it. He stood on the patio with his ears low, staring across the yard. I tugged the leash gently and said, Come on, buddy. He whined, then the backyard camera clicked. It had a tiny red light when it recorded motion. I turned and saw it glowing above the garage, pointed toward the gate and part of the yard. I checked the app. Motion detected. 1:38 a.m. That made no sense because it was only 11:34 p.m. Then I realized it was showing me a clip from the previous night. I opened it. The video was only 12 seconds long. At first it showed the side gate, the snow, the trash cans, nothing else. Then someone crossed the far edge of the frame, only for a second. A green winter coat, the same shade as Emily's, whoever it was moved from the gate toward the shed. Their head was out of frame. The camera caught only the shoulder, arm, and side of the coat. Then the clip ended. The next recording was 6 minutes later, Empry Yard. I stood on the patio holding Cooper's leash, my thumb frozen over the screen. I checked the camera history. Every night since Tuesday, there was a motion alert between 1:30 and 1:45 a.m. Every time the same thing happened. A brief clip, a partial shape near the edge of the frame, then a gap. 5 minutes. 6 minutes. Once 7. The camera did not say it lost Wi-Fi. It did not say the battery died. It just had no footage. I did not sleep much that night. The next morning, Saturday, I called Megan again. This time she answered while I was sitting in my truck in the driveway. I had not started the engine. I just needed to be outside the house. I said, I need to talk to Emily. Megan went quiet. I said, please don't tell me she's asleep. Just put her on. Another pause, then Megan said, I thought she was with you. My stomach went cold. I said, what? She texted me Monday night, Megan said. She said you two were fighting, but that she was staying home. I figured she didn't want me involved. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my fingers hurt. She told me she was going to your place, I said. She never came here. I asked Megan when she last saw Emily in person. She said Sunday, at Mom's. The day before the fight, after I hung up. I sat in the driveway for almost 20 minutes. Then I checked everything, her bank account, or what I could see from our shared expenses. No gas, no hotel, no food purchases. Nothing after Monday afternoon except one small charge from a pharmacy near her office. Her location sharing had been turned off. My iPhone showed her phone as no location found. I opened the Smart Lock app. That was when I stopped thinking this was just a fight. Emily's code had been used on Tuesday at 1:41 a.m., then again at 1:43 a.m., then the back door locked at 1:52 a.m. The same thing happened Wednesday, unlocked at 1:39 a.m., locked at 1:47 a.m. Thursday, unlocked at 1:42 a.m., locked it at 1:50 a.m. I checked the front ring camera for those times. Nothing. No car, no person walking up the driveway. Whoever used the code had come from the backyard. I backed out of the app and looked at the hallway behind me. The house felt different. Not haunted. Not like in movies. Just occupied in a way I had not agreed to. I called the non-emergency police line. I explained that my wife had left after an argument, that I had received texts, that her sister had not seen her, and that someone had been using her door code. The dispatcher was polite, but I could hear the shape of what she thought. Adult woman, marital argument, no clear crime. She told me an officer could come by later that day. I said okay. Then I changed the smart lock code. 2 minutes after I changed it, I got a text from Emily. Why did you do that? I dropped the phone onto the couch like it had burned me. I did not answer. The text had arrived at 12:06 p.m., broad daylight. I walked through the house and checked every room. Closets, basement, laundry area, garage. I carried a kitchen knife, which I know sounds dramatic, but at that point I did not care. The house was empty. The shed was the only place I did not check. Not then. I am not brave, and I do not want to pretend I am. I locked the back door, took Cooper, and drove to a coffee shop until the officer arrived. He came at 3:15 p.m. I showed him the texts, the smart lock history, the camera clips. He took it seriously enough to write things down, but not seriously enough to treat the house like a crime scene. He asked if Emily had ever used scheduled texts. I said no. He asked if anyone else knew her lock code. I said maybe Megan, maybe her mother, but neither of them would come into our house at 1:40 in the morning. He looked out at the backyard. What's in the shed? He asked. Lawn stuff, I said. Mind opening it? The shed had a padlock on it. That was already wrong. We had never locked it with a padlock. The door latch was old, and I usually just slid a rusted bolt across. This lock was new. Black, clean, with a rubber cover over the keyhole. The officer asked if I had a key. I said no. He looked at the shed, then at me, and said, since there was no immediate sign of forced entry or visible danger, he could not just break it open without more cause. He suggested I call a locksmith or property maintenance, then call them back if I found anything concerning. I know people will hear that and get angry. I was angry too, but in the moment, with the sun going down and a police cruiser in my driveway, everything still somehow felt like a misunderstanding that had gotten out of hand. The next morning, Sunday, I asked my neighbor, Mr. Alvarez, to stand by the fence while I opened the shed. He was retired, ex-military, and the kind of man who took out his trash in polished boots. I did not tell him everything. I just said I was worried someone had been in my yard. He brought a baseball bat without making a joke about it. I bought bolt cutters from Home Depot at 9:12 a.m. I still have the receipt somewhere, though I have never looked at it again. At 10:36 a.m., I cut the lock. The sound was louder than I expected. The shed door stuck at first. I had to pull hard. When it opened, the smell came out, wet wood, old towels, something sweet underneath. Cooper started barking from inside the house. The shed looked mostly normal, rake on the wall, snow shovel, half-empty bag of ice melt, a plastic bin of Christmas lights, but the back right corner was wrong. The floor there was covered by a sheet of plywood I did not recognize. It was newer than the rest of the floor, pale and clean, held down by fresh screws. Mortar Alvarez said very quietly, "Don't touch that." I had already stepped closer. There was dirt around the edges of the board, not a lot, just enough to show it had been disturbed. One corner of something green was pinched under the plywood. Emily's coat. I backed out of the shed and called 911. The police arrived within 9 minutes. They pushed me away from the shed, then farther, then into my own kitchen, where I sat at the table with Mr. Alvarez while people walked in and out of my yard. Nobody told me anything for a long time. I knew anyway. You know certain things before they are said out loud. Your body knows before your mind lets the words form. A detective came in around 1:20 p.m. He asked me when I last saw my wife. I said Monday night. He asked if she had been wearing a green coat. I said yes. He asked if she had any jewelry that would help identify her. I said she wore a thin silver bracelet with a small dental charm on it because her co-workers gave it to her when she got promoted. He looked down at his notebook. That was enough. I do not remember crying. I remember hearing Cooper scratching at the basement door because I had shut him down there when the police came. I remember thinking I should let him out because Emily would be mad that he was scared. That thought broke something in me. They found Emily under the shed floor. I will not describe the details. You do not need them. I do not need them either. The detective later told me she had probably died Monday night. The same night she left. Her phone was found sealed in a plastic freezer bag beneath the plywood, along with her purse, keys, and green coat. That made no sense, because I had been getting texts from that phone for 6 days. The police took my phone, my laptop, the smart lock hub, the Ring camera, the router, Emily's tablet from the bedroom drawer. I stayed with Megan the first night. She spent most of it crying in the guest room. I sat on the edge of the bed and read the texts over and over in my mind. I need space. Don't call. Feed Cooper before bed. The next day, one of the detectives told me some of the messages appeared to have been sent from Emily's Apple ID, but not directly from her phone. He said there were ways that could happen if someone had access to her account, her tablet, or another trusted device. I asked if they knew who did it. He said they were looking into several possibilities. That is the kind of sentence that means nothing and everything. They asked about contractors, friends, coworkers, neighbors, people who had been inside the house. I told them about a handyman we hired the previous fall to fix the back steps. I told them about the furnace repair guy. I told them about a delivery driver Emily once complained about because he left her food at the back gate instead of the front porch. I gave them every name I could think of. But the part that still keeps me awake is this. The backyard camera footage had been altered, not deleted. Altered. The detective said some clips showed empty thumbnails in the app, but the exported files had motion in them. Someone had known enough to make the videos look boring if you were scrolling fast. Someone had counted on me not checking closely, and they were right for almost a week. I did not go back to the house after that. The police told me not to at first. Later, when they said I could collect clothes, I sent Megan and her husband instead. They packed 2 duffel bags for me, shirts, jeans, medication, my passport. They also brought Cooper. I stayed at a motel off I-270 because I could not stand being in anyone's guest room anymore. Room 214. Brown carpet, loud heater. A vending machine outside that hummed through the wall all night. On the 3rd night there, I woke up at 12 p.m., not because of a noise, because my phone lit up. For a few seconds, I just stared at the ceiling and watched the light pulse against the wall. Then I looked. It was an iMessage from Emily. I knew that was impossible. Her phone was in evidence. Her tablet was in evidence. My laptop was in evidence. The police had changed passwords with me 2 days earlier. Megan had helped me shut down every shared account we could think of. But the message was there. Blue bubble. Emily, you were better when you believed me. I did not touch the screen. I called the detective from the motel landline because I did not even want to hold my own phone. By the time he answered, the message was gone. Not deleted on my end. Gone, the thread jumped from the old Feed Cooper before bed. Text straight to my unanswered message from Friday. Like the new one had never existed. I know what I saw. I know the exact words. The detective told me not to panic. He said they would check logs. He said sometimes synced devices, spoofed accounts, delayed messages. All kinds of technical things could make something appear strange. I said okay. Because what else do you say? A week later, I got one of my bags from Megan and found Emily's silver bracelet in the front pocket of my gray hoodie. The same bracelet the detective had asked me about. The one they used to help identify her. It was clean, dry, hooked through the zipper pull like someone had placed it there carefully. I called the detective again. He came to the motel and took it in a paper envelope. He asked if I was sure it was hers. I said yes. He asked who packed the bag. I said Megan and her husband. He asked if anyone else had access to it. I said no. But that was not true. Not really. Because someone had access to our house. Someone had access to our cameras. Someone had access to Emily's messages. Someone knew Cooper's food brand, our grocery list, our trash schedule, and the exact way to keep me calm long enough not to look under the shed. I moved out of Ohio that spring. I changed my number. I changed every password. I sold the house through an attorney and never went back for the closing. They never told me who killed Emily. Maybe they did not know. Maybe they had a suspect and not enough proof. Maybe they were waiting for whoever it was to make another mistake. I do not ask anymore. But every once in a while, something small happens. A grocery app sends me a password reset code I did not request. My phone suggests Emily. When I start typing the letter E, Cooper wakes up in the middle of the night and stares at the door. And 2 months ago, on a Monday night, I got an email with no subject line, no name, no message. Just one attachment, a still image from our old backyard camera. The shed was in the frame. The timestamp read 1:38 a.m. In the picture, the shed door was open, and standing just inside it, half hidden by the dark, was someone wearing my gray hoodie.